Testing one, two, three. Testing one, two, three. Hey, you will make it TV followers, viewers, and supporters. Thank you for clicking on another live video here tonight with the You Will Make It TV YouTube channel where we believe faith attracts possibilities. We don't just believe that or tell people that. We have to add the part that, what you do with those possibilities are up to you. If you're new to the channel, welcome. We're happy to have you. We're happy to have, let me put it like this, newer minds that surround us that think alike. And even if you don't, what's special about when I do open discussion topics is like we actually welcome different perceptions. We actually welcome broader perceptions as well, right? Because sometimes you only see things one way because that's the only way you've ever seen it, right? Or because you come from a certain culture, or because you come from a certain background, right? So we do thank you guys for your support up until this time. We are grateful every view, every comment, every like, and every share. So you can still do that to help get the word out about You Will Make It TV. What's funny is, I don't know, I'm just doing my job to welcome people to do that. But regardless, even if one soul, one heart, one mind is transformed through our inspiration giving, we're okay with that. And one, sometimes with God, is just majority. So it doesn't take but one person to come across, uh, powerful content. One person who was having a bad day, one person who didn't know what they were going to do next, or were just on the brink of giving up. That's who we're here to speak to. Most of the times here at You Will Make It TV, because we don't want people to think you got to be having a bad day to subscribe here, right? Just because we're inspirational content, quotes, and messages channel does not mean you cannot, right? Be having a positive day and still be looking for some inspiration, right? Maybe to keep you refreshed, right? Happy early Martin Luther King Day out there to all the Martin Luther King Day celebrators. I didn't say it was Martin Luther King Day yet, but Martin Luther King Day being right around the corner is a little bit of what inspired my topic of choice tonight. I'll just be here as the audio host, Miss Tetta Sherry Whitney, giving my reaction and commentary to yet another factual part of history, okay? Or just yet another real event, right, that has helped to shape not only our world, not only us as a people, but our country as well. And it's such a crazy time for this topic to have came to me, or for me to even have began researching it. Honestly, with everything that's going on in the world, the way it's happening, the way it's unfolding before us, it's like I've never seen a time coming where no matter what or who people said they were, right? The truth was just exposed, right? Imagine 100 people saying, they were Jews, and then they come out, the whole time those 100 people still screaming they're Jews, right? 1,000 more sees that they're not. Any majority I've learned in life, there's always a greater majority. That's why one of my favorite movies is that movie 300, right? It's just the way I choose to look at my life from a broader perspective when it comes to what I've learned through observation and experience, and just, because people will say your life, my life, y'all, but life is life. And then it's only good or as bad as you can shape it or make it or deal with or try to manage. If you agree, hit that like button. That's why we like to give inspiration here. Now, we're not the only inspirational channel, but we are the only inspirational channel that gives you short and long messages like this at the same time. So if you're ever interested, you don't have time to just stay tuned in and listen to one of our lives or videos, uh, you can always tune into a short. They're like 10, 15 seconds long, right? And, you know, stay encouraged with what I feel, you know what I'm saying? It's considered inspiration when we really talk about that. And sometimes it can be underrated, but I feel like as a natural empath, I'm able to feel when the world is hurting anyway. And nobody should have to ask you to step up and be an inspiration to the world. That's just the responsibility I choose to take as a human being, serving humanity any way I can. Okay, through any situation I'm going through personally or whatever. You can always go back and reverence my story. Somewhere I was probably being an inspiration to somebody. Somewhere you probably were. I'm just saying, sometimes it takes us looking at what's bigger than us to inspire more than us or just inspire more than us at home. Once again, just wanted to give reverence to the upcoming Black History Month, upcoming Martin Luther King Day Jr., giving reverence through this segment of, right, our first of all, respect for this history, respect of the pioneers who made this history as we live out our present, because surely one day we all will be history too, right? Literally. Hit that like button to show your support. We'll be right back. I left off saying that I wanted to just give reverence where it was due when it comes to observation days, reminding us of how significant a lot of these observations days are when it comes to holidays too. The changes for these holidays to be had come into fruition to begin with, like what led us here, right? What led us to being the day in January that approaches that we say, you know what, let's remember Martin Luther King. Because honestly, I think about Martin Luther King all the time as if, he was a part of something that was really dear to me, because maybe he was. That's what history will do to you, especially when you know what how that person's purpose was, essentially, whether they saw it then, saw it before. I believe there are some people that was in Martin Luther King life who saw his purpose on him before he even was fully living it out. And I mean as a youngster, like, and you'll learn that too when you read about his story. He was just, I don't want to say being groomed into a leader at an early age, but he definitely, was brought up around such type of guidance. And when we talk about the faith, it gets so controversial to me. Like, it gets controversial to people. Even Martin Luther King was questioning, literally questioning about his faith. Faith. He was questioning about his faith, y'all. I'm probably in the early beginnings of his work, and then his faith was tested too. His very work, his faith was tested in the midst of his work. People were not always happy to see him walking around uh, preaching, teaching, and speaking love, light, and peace. But we know that there came a decade shortly after his time, right? Because we know that, unfortunately, rest in peace. That's why Martin Luther King Day exists. You know what I'm saying? Like people were very sad. It moved the whole world to hear of his passing and his assassination and everything. But I have really truly pondered. I'm talking about like uh, my inner man first. Like you know what I'm saying? I like to have my own perception and opinion and viewpoint. It's very important to me. We're going to talk a little bit about why. I'm just using myself for an example, but it's very important. As y'all see, I have the cover of that book on my thumbnail here, the Willie Lynch letter in the making of a slave. There's no way I could be aware of texts like this that exist in history and not be grateful for something like my independence today, even if I am a woman, right? If 100 men come in a group and just have to feel that I don't deserve a voice, I don't deserve to, right, at least try to grow into my purpose, well, I feel like that's a them problem. Because once upon a time, I read already about how a whole nation of people already had came up with a what they call is the blueprint to actually keeping people of my skin tone and culture at a certain level. And that level, ladies and gentlemen, you just read the title of that book, The Letter, The Willie Lynch Letter in the Making of a Slave. I'm not doing nothing new, man. I not everything I research I speak on, but if you want a reference to other commentary and reactions before we started You Will Make Your TV, you can tune in to those at Crime Publishing Content. I give open thoughts, opinions, commentary as a speaker on many different topics. Okay, topics I feel like matter or that we can all learn something from, because we've so quickly grown into a society, you know, that just sit back and watch it. We sit back and watch everybody, and that's beautiful. But it's like, what do you learn? Do people learn? It's so many copycat crimes, copycat fashion, copycat everything today. Like, how are people learning if everybody copying each other? Let's start at the foundation of the schoolhouse. Because we know in the 1700s, back when the Willie Lynch letter was written, black people didn't have such the luxury or privilege of going to school. But it was at school I learned that, you know, copying was like cheating. Straight up. That's the truth for us all. Copying is cheating. It's so much so frowned upon. There's a law against it. You know, there's a law that prohibits it to protect the citizens. Some people, they know the law too. They study the law. They like to know the law and their rights. But I feel like if more of us thought why, before we get to like, oh, we don't like this law or whatever it is, think about why they were originally implemented, how it was supposed to protect us, or how it was supposed to protect our neighbor, or how it was supposed to protect us as a country. If more people thought about that, uh, I don't know what a different world it would be. Now, most of us say we respect the law, we abide by it, we're proud American citizens, but we have to remember why these laws, when especially when it comes to the ones that were added to the uh, Constitution later for Black people, we need to understand that once upon a time they were not there. Once upon a time they were implemented for a reason. I don't feel elementary. I don't feel petty. I don't feel anything but the need to inspire or re-admire, redirect, remind people all together. When do we get to a time where the laws that once protected Black people, if one feels like it's not right in any culture, I would say one is too many. One family, one tribe, one culture of people who are not being protected by a law that was created for the people, it's just not right to me. So, you know, I choose to use my voice to talk about these things sometimes. So still, you guys are welcome to tune in with us. I don't know how long I'm gonna stay on live tonight, but I found this just wanted to release a topic that was on my heart, you know, because I'm going to, I say we, because I'm hoping we get anybody that want to come to the panel. I didn't even share the link in the comments. Let me do that for y'all real quick. If you hear a pause, that's what I'm doing. I'm gonna share the link in the comments for anybody who might want to come on stage real quick and share some broader perspective of our topic tonight. One second, guys. I'm gonna share this link real quick. It will be in the comment section for anybody who wants to join the stage and enter the topic with us. One second. Okay, so I'm back. If you see the comment section right here on the live, right here in the comment section, there's a link. You can simply, because everybody don't know this, y'all, but you can copy and paste the link here in the comments to your own web browser page or right in YouTube. Just hit the link and you will be able, let me share it one more time, to join the stage with us. Just give me a second to bring you on stage and we'll go from there. I know a lot of people at this hour be asleep too, but it's always an honor to, some people enjoy being able to wake up to content, that interests them. So even if you don't access the live 10 in the morning or this pre-recorded, you can access it anytime. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe to any You Will Make It TV content in 2025. Not just this one tonight. Anybody interested, maybe even in building on a part two, email me at makeityourwill01@gmail.com and let's network, okay? Because Black History Month is right around the corner, and so is Martin Luther King Day, and it's a time put aside to actually reverence what these observation days meant, what brought them about, okay, and how they are significant, especially on those holidays. But like Martin Luther King Day, Black History Month, a lot of people do honestly wait till that time to talk about these things, but it's never a bad time to talk about history altogether. So, anyways, I'm gonna put it on hold again. That link is in the comments twice for you guys. That email again is makeityouville01 at gmail.com. This is the You Will Make It TV channel. I am audio host Arthur Tedder Sherry. I am happy to share more of my commentary, views, and reactions with my subscribers on tonight about yet another real event that's happened or affected a group of people somehow, another real life event, whether it's in current day or in history or in the future, that we can all think about and try to see what we can learn from. But that's the question here I put in the comments. Did you know that in the 1990s it was more, I must say, trendy? It was more, it just became a trendy topic again. And I can see why. The 1990s, I heard, even though it was the time I was born, I heard, it was kind of a movement time. I was about to talk about the 70s, the decade right after it seems like, Martin Luther King, some of his major movements, the 70s was right after that. And I find it really interesting because we saw the country go through the shift as it happened, and we're still seeing it today. What I mean, in my opinion, is, you kind of seen everybody go from civil rights movement to just straight, oh, now we love each other, and it's been a civil rights movement, but it's like now we're all speaking love, light, and peace, right? That's kind of what the 70s was about too. And you saw this time period of more people desiring that more than ever. They were willing to go out, protest, stand up, take a seat, stand up, sit down, right? Some call it the hippie period, right? Just a time where everybody was really, really practicing love, even if it was in a way that quote unquote religious people agreed with, right? Sharing love freely, being free spirited, being free minded. It was a time of inspiring others like never before to be just that. You had groups like the Beatles who promoted it. A lot of musicians at the time, celebrities, you know what I mean, and also regular citizens of the country. I didn't have to be here to witness that. You know what I'm saying? You piece where you need to piece it together with history. Like, boom, this was right after the 60s. Yeah, right after Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and everything, you still had presidents at that time that were even, you know what I'm saying, social change was so needed and the people were so hungry for it at the time. You had presidents that fell behind trying to stand up for it. It's unfortunate. But shout out to those like I was thinking of Lyndon B. Jones and like one of the Kennedys. I mean, so much transpired between the 40s and 70s alone before we even talk about the 80s and the 90s. But I noticed, even in my research, they said the 90s was more, just you saw more historians, authors, researchers, uh, people who truly observe history and, give it thought, assess it. They had come to this conclusion supposedly in the 90s. It was a trending topic again. Like, was the Willie Lynch letter, was there more significance to it that black people needed to pay attention to, right? When it came to their history, that's what I'm describing. The 90s was more of a time that, uh, if you want to compare it to the 70s, I guess it's just another generation of people who, it was actually popular. It wasn't shunned for people to wear their big medallions and call themselves queen. Think about Queen Latifah in the 90s. It's just like, was a different time for black people altogether. The 90s was one decade to be uh, remembered. Look how much all went on there. So much so, The 90s is coming back to remind us about itself, right? We're seeing some of the artists that were or celebrities of that time just we're seeing them in the news and headlines now about things they could have possibly been involved with then, just a different time. 2025 is for sure. Uh, I'm like, how did we go from Black Power, right, to uh, statistics rising like never before in black on black crime? How? Anybody could ask this question. So many cultures have asked it. I mean, at this point, and see, people still do that. They like, if we can nitpick out everything that makes the black man or woman or child dishonorable, as if this is the old day, right? They just won't be considered for anything. You never really stop seeing people do that. You know what I'm saying? But you have seen more and more black people stand up. It used to be common and it didn't seem weird or off to people at once upon a time for a black person to stand up for what they thought was right. But see, in modern day time, I've just been looking at a lot of things. Me personally, uh, we ask ourselves once again, how do we go from love, light, and peace, and civil rights movement, and uh, women's rights, and civil war, and how do you go from all that to just accepting slaughtering off your very own, just slaughtering each other off? How does a black culture go to that? Even the black parts of the black culture, to me, to just sit back and talk about it are part of the problem. Because any individual that sit back and watch the slaughtering of another, mm, you know what we feel about that. People have different opinions. I'm slowly easing into why I feel like the Willie Lynch letter is significant. Again, even in modern day times, we can learn a lot from it. How does a people go to like their own black cities, their own black towns, their own black universities, equal quote unquote rights, or as close as they could get it, equal rights for the black man and woman too? How do we go from the title of nigger to Mr. and Mrs. in modern day and still overlook how many black people still hate each other? It's crazy. I'm not gonna say still hate each other. I'm gonna say just they just do. Like how is this possible when we know our history? So people can understand me more, how you can easily get annoyed or irritated or overlook ignorance. That's what I describe it as. Because people can act foreign to, especially when they're black, like, oh, that young black lady act like she don't want any drama or any extra in her life. She just wants to be focused, or she thinks she's better than us. That's the mentality I'm talking about. People in the black culture and community not remembering, not obviously not remembering things like the Willie Lynch letter in general that was created to have you in the state of mind you are in right now. It was written, and it's a whole part when you read the letter that says, if you do the techniques in this letter exactly as I tell you to do them, uh, you can keep a whole generation of people in line, whatever in line is supposed to be, like pretty much submissive. Like you can keep them as your slave for up to 300 years. And I read this with my own eyes. That's what it says. Let me pull up something here. I think I'm going to pull up some of the. Bear with me, guys. I'm still here. I want to pull up some of this we can start off with. Like just when it comes to some of the text, from this letter that we can kind of look over, I guess, here today together, right here on the You Will Make It TV channel. Thank you guys for tuning in again. Remember to hit that like button to show your support. I'm just on the backstage here trying to pull up some more content relating to the Willie Lynch letter that we're going to be discussing tonight. Now, I can tell y'all now I'm not going to go over the whole letter. That wasn't the point or significance of me. I said what inspired me was that Martin Luther King Day was coming up anyway, and that's the time we usually give reverence to why that day exists. It kind of reminds us of the sufferings that Black people once suffered, endured, and truly went through. That so many are just like, oh, get over it. It's the past, it's history, and all you have to do is go to work today, as if that's not almost similar to slavery either, especially when the economy gets to a level where it is more, the price of cost of living is more than what people are even making, what people are even earning, regardless of what level of degree they have. Some of people of all classes of finance these days have totally agreed that, you know, if the cost of living was cheaper, we would be in a better place economically. The reality is the cost of living may not ever get cheaper. I don't see it coming in anytime soon. What are y'all opinions? Leave them in the comments, or you can leave them in the chat section. The comment section, once again, there's a link in the comment section for anybody who wants to come on stage and maybe share some of their viewpoints and opinions about this topic. One second, guys. I'm still here. I am trying to. No, that's not what I want to do. I'm trying to share that I'm live real quick on YouTube because I don't even think people be seeing me when I go live. I don't know what be going on this thing, but I'm gonna do this real quick. One second, guys. Copy. Okay, y'all, I'm back. That took me like 15 seconds real quick so I could go. And I'm gonna just start making it a habit. If anybody wanted to know, like, why it seems like her lives, I definitely make announcements and posts where I can. Like, I don't think it's fair at all. But yes, my analytics are sometimes whatever's going on with it, they're fluctuating. And anything that's not being tampered with, it's not just gonna fluctuate like that. Not no digital media analytics like that. But period. Long as I know and y'all know. But sometimes that's why if it seems like I'm oversharing content that I am posting, it's just so others are getting a chance to be aware if they would like to make the choice to become a subscriber or tune into some of our content as well. So thank you guys for understanding. I just had to put that little word of advice out there, but please feel free to like, share, or subscribe to our content anywhere you'd like to. I was choosing to break the ice with my message or my reaction or commentary to were these methods a hoax by asking this question, not just to the black community, but to all of us when it comes to history. Like, how does it go from we've already showed that about ourselves as black people? Like, we know how to access, we know how to build things independently and build towns and cities. We know how to, uh, go worship. I'm gonna say go worship God or reverence God or go in communities where we can worship God together as black people. Do people remember where we started? We enter the churches and everything, uh, only being taught the Bible under, you know what I'm saying, the very slave master. So people oftentimes I know they do, they might not say it out loud, but like she said she got so much faith in God. Is she aware of what color she is? As if I'm not. I mean, is she aware of where she come from? Is she aware of, how we have been quote unquote beaten with the Bible? Because to some people, though we reverence and believe that God is the word, like John and 1 tells us, you know, we might be want to be careful who we receive the word from, right? And that's with anything. If you're going to receive teaching or guidance from, let's say you're just trying to learn how to change a battery, you might want to learn it from somebody who has changed the battery. It's the same thing with when it comes to who you choose to like digest from. To me, uh, regardless of how that person looks, right? Like most mechanics don't look as dressed up and fancy every day, but that doesn't mean they can't do their jobs, right? It's the same, right? Like I feel like following an instructor or leader or guidance is more than how that person look, but also, and history should teach us this when it comes to black people, but it will also include whether or not, to me too, if I'm gonna learn anything from a specific teacher, I would like to know that they have some type of experience or right they have some type of track record in proving the things that they're saying, something like that. People don't even take the time out to see those things about you if you're black. Like I said, I just see lots of reflections of what I feel like are still methods of the Willie Lynch letter. And I said it there. That's how Arthur Sherry feels. Because truly, they say this man came from the West Indies somewhere with his practices. He has studied. That's the first thing that's just really crazy when you read this, like the introduction, the beginning of it. He explains that he got these conclusions from first studying the people. So let's just digest that for a second. I call my segments discussion digest topics because some of this you don't just have a quick response to. You might have to go think about for a little while or, research for a while or something. So that's why we call it digest discussions. These are topics you might have to digest before, just speaking on it. Maybe critical thinking about, like, how do you feel about it? Do we have enough people in the world who feel like they have the right to feel something about things? Uh, Not just black people though. Do we have enough people in the world that feel heard? HEARD. Because the only other version of heard I've ever heard of is HERD. As of a cattle, you know, think about the animals. I know that they serve great purpose to the earth, whether we use them for what we need as human beings every day or not. But the animals, they don't get to just choose. If they get chosen to go to the slaughterhouse and be dinner for somebody tomorrow, that's what happens. Okay? If a cow is going to be milked because the store needs 30 gallons of milk tomorrow, that's what happens. With all the strength a cow has, one cow cannot fight the strength of 10 hungry men. Just think about that for a second. Because this is the way I look at it. They don't have to call me an animal lover, but I have learned a lot from the animals. Not in a Dr. Doolittle way where they've talked to me. Sometimes just your behavior, right? We were talking about how Willie Lynch studied. He studied a certain type of people before he even, and that's how most uh, conclusions come about. You study something first. You study those people. You study that land. You study that subject, whatever it is. But he said that in a letter, like, I studied these people, I observed them. He talks about what he observed about the black woman, what he observed about the black child, the seed, and what he observed about the black man. Take a second to digest that, ladies and gentlemen. He really did. This, like I said, I'm not going to go over every word verbatim from this letter. That's not what I want to use my segment to do. I just want to remind people of this letter and the reality of it. The reality, when I say reality, of its existence since the year 1712. Well, it probably existed longer, but I'm saying it was presented to American slave masters as early as then, right? Now, if the man said it could be used for 300 years, he said up to 300 years on one generation. I'm just asking y'all opinions. So if 300 years run out on one generation, what is the plan? We he talks about it. He like you would have to re-break that family, that black family, because that would mean the techniques are starting to rub off, and it's just disgusting to me to say the least that uh, this was once the way of the world in this country. I'm tired of people ignoring. They want everybody. They want to control what people pay attention to, but ignore the real it makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. But I just say black people first. Like I heard recently, Louisiana included as a rule in the student guide handbooks of theirs. If every school in their state that the Ten Commandments must be, you know, must be left in the classroom. What do y'all think about that? Yeah, they had a bill passed to bring the Ten Commandments. You can feel what you want to feel about it, but me, I commend the state of Louisiana, and this is my reaction and commentary. I commend them. That's why I did a podcast segment about it. I came and openly spoke about it, giving them reverence for that. for my own reasons. I just feel like with all the other social influences that are pressured on our kids every day, why not add something like the Ten Commandments, like an honorable set of, even if you weren't religious, it really don't say nothing wrong on the Ten Commandments to me. The first one is have no other God before me. Put the Lord thy God first. That's another thing in the Willie Lynch letter. And when it comes to slave masters, when I think about this for myself, when they reverence to God back then, I don't know who was talking about. You see, there was once a time that our people couldn't speak on it, even if they felt that way. They couldn't look at their slave master and say, you know, I don't like that you talk about God at the church house and then come here and whip me. They couldn't tell their slave masters that. But the thing is, today you can say that if you feel like somebody's making you feel that way. And why will we sleep on such a pathway? The path is already narrow. Look how much it took to have a path paved, any type of pathway paved for black people. Like seriously, look what it took, how long it took, what was lost, and what was gained. There's no in between. There's history and there's the truth. Maybe they're one and the same. Maybe history and the truth are a little different. That's why my question or my title to this segment was significant to me. Were these methods just a hoax? Because you did. I mean, to me, or let me see, to most people, anything you debunk just because you want to debunk or say that something is not real, it's just your opinion at the end of the day. Just 10 years ago, they were saying aliens weren't real. I'm sure we might hear it all in the near future. Mermaids, a lot of different things are real that we once thought weren't. People believe in dinosaurs. They've never physically seen a dinosaur, but they believe in them. They feel like they have enough evidence. But we see the Willie Lynch letter, the reality that it was actually a published letter, and we don't want to believe it. I'm talking about in modern day time. I don't think I have to convince anybody that this is real. I'm just coming from a place. I would hope that any of us are not seeing the repetition of any of these things in this letter in America being played out on anybody. Hit that like button, share, subscribe. In my opinion, any level or type of bondage is not only because you can only call something self-sabotaging that you choose. So somebody could say, well, that lady always self-sabotages. That means you mess up good things for yourself. Slavery is one of those things you can't, nobody asked for that. Nobody really choose that when they really know the true meaning of it. You're just existent. And that's why the Willie Lynch letter talks about that. He encourages the slave owner to take their mind and keep their body. It is so crazy. Because to me, anything you take the nucleus, direct head center from, like the call center of the whole matter, anything you got to steal that from, and then you just got the outer shell. Well, you might as well call that a robot. You might as well call that a computer. See, computers come in all shapes, forms, sizes, and you can control the functions. You open it up, you power it on, and you control the functions as they go. Yeah, he Willie Lynch, that was a part of his letter. He encouraged the masters to take their minds and keep their bodies. That's how you keep the slave more likely to submit. And they went to no limit. In his letter, he went to no limit of how he said you're gonna have three main ingredients. I'm not quoting him word for word, but let's say a person had never heard it before. This is a good start. This man Willie Lynch, he said, if you keep distrust, fear, envy, those are the three words, y'all. Like, cause to me, I don't care. I feel like this man was possessed when he even wrote it, or maybe when the human mind's willpower really can be dangerous. You see what I'm saying? Like, or what would possess you to write something like that? What would possess you to write something that would be so extreme? We understand having a slave, maybe being a slave owner, but how could you be so cruel, right? That's what most people that first read this text of history often think to themselves at first. Because I don't care. Even other historians and people who break down historical texts and things try to find the meaning of them, like truly research them. You know, you got the Diary of Anne Frank, just many different evidences when it comes to just like context. I personally love it too. Uh, as a writer, writing is a form of expression and communication, and this top slave master knew this too. That's why he also talks about this in his letter, literally, how communication or keeping a person from their true language, whatever that means to you, whatever that means to me. Yeah, he said distrust, fear, and envy. Right? These the three main ingredients. If a slave master have that over their slaves, they have a better chance of keeping them in bondage for at least 300 years. They said if they do it persistently, use the tactics, distrust, fear, and envy for at least a year. 1 year, y'all. This was written a long time ago, but I wouldn't say that there might be some truth to it. That is crazy. I don't know. That's just my opinion. Distrust can be described as like not trusting a person, place, thing, or piece of information. Distrust. We all know what distrust is. Fear. We all know what fear is, right? It's the opposite of faith. I talk about this a lot on inspirational content. And then envy. If you don't know what that is, it's one you can easily remember. That En. I think they had a music group called In Vogue. I'm just looking at the pretext, the N, and then V. I just feel like it's something deeper to everything. But envy is definitely a inner personal. That's not one of those emotions you can blame like on other people. Have y'all ever noticed that? Like other emotions, when you say you're happy or you notice somebody else was happy, or when we try to describe most emotions, especially when they're associated with ourselves, I just noticed envy is not one a lot of people like to take accountability for, period. It's never been. It's never been in history. That's my point. Not that emotion. Hate may people might take more accountability to hating someone before they'll admit they're envious of them, period. I just always found that interesting. Cause see, on his side too, with his observations, like I said, observations of the people, or you know, Like I said, at the end of the day, I can only give my commentary. History has already played itself out. I can only speak for the where we stand in the present, y'all, which truly is a present. When you do look at history, especially for black people, the only people would ever try to downplay that. I'm not gonna say a specific people. Anybody could, if it wasn't their people that went through it. Period. That's what I feel like is my stance in this discussion topic. But he believed that distrust, fear, and envy. He not only believed, he went as far as to tell them that it worked for his slaves. He said it worked for his slaves, and if they used it for at least a year on their slaves, they were sure to get a 300-year return. So it was interesting. Envy is one of those emotions that nobody wants to admit that they feel. It's okay to feel. I'm gonna say it's okay to feel it. I'm gonna say I don't agree. It's okay to stay there because you had whole things like this happen in history. Laws have to be made to prevent it from moving forward in history. And a lot of people were hurt when these things happen. A lot of people lost their lives. Anywhere there's slaves, anywhere there's war, anywhere there's civil unrest. Once again, why are we talking about this topic? Martin Luther King Day is coming up this January 2025, and so is Black History Month in February 2025. And even no matter what ethnic culture you are out there, see, because you also had other tribes of people who experienced like bondage periods or periods where you guys ever heard of the Trail of Tears? Different periods of people where they had to travel and, to their own independence and freedom again. These are stories. Think about the Holocaust. So these things happen in other countries too, or have happened in other countries in history. You just leave it there. It's so good in between y'all, but it wasn't good what happened to the people. But to know this about history, is there a possibility people don't want people to look into how you gonna hide history now? We've been knowing about Jim Crow laws, slavery happened. Slavery happened in many cultures, is what I'm saying. So different tribes and cultures of people have experienced through this throughout the course of history. It always has caused some type of conflict if we put them in those words. Nobody wants to be, I'm telling y'all, slave master. But okay, so he said this slave master, they everybody probably wants to be, but I've already checked my heart about that a long time ago. I don't want to feel like that much power over anybody at any given time, really, because I truly understand what something like that means. A slave is different from a servant, an assistant. A slave is a whole nother level of relationship with the human. You know what I mean? We're all human, but I'm saying black people were black people and they were human and they were only considered three-fifths of a human at this time in history. But shout out to Black History Month. I'm a few weeks early, guys. Subscribe, like, and share our content anywhere for not just to show your support, but to also share what deserves to be reverenced and shared with, like I said, the narrow pathway. Look how much it took for us to get here. It does nothing but show what people don't want to say is envy or racism. It shows greed. It shows things that we have to assess ourselves, or how are we different from history. Are we trying to be, is the main agenda to make it like that again? I had a dream before though that oppressed is not the word. Black people were being like, and it was stupid. It was like it was modern day time. So I didn't like what I was seeing. I didn't even. I'm like, how am I seeing what I'm seeing? I wouldn't say it's every. It was every black person, but it's like my dream definitely showed me. It was like it can happen. You know what I'm saying? What's impossible? What, like, people walk around society with high horses. My, I don't know, but like at one point, like they're not playing with the whole border control situation and all of that. These are all different type of factors that really matter because they're human crises. They're human matters. They're the future of humans and nature and the world altogether matters. You can have as many people as you want to say, well, I'm just going to stretch out my life as comfortable as I can. That's really all you're doing at the end of the day. Is that really living life? Get a little uncomfortable, get a little muddy. Why are we telling people it's bad to get our feet wet, right? How else is the sky the limit? And I don't care what cultural person it is. I'm not saying I feel like everybody should travel the world and just get to go where they want to go. I do feel like, yep, that's great. Airplanes were invented. That privilege was invented. Airport companies make much money off all cultures of people, whether it's just from them traveling or having to go move somewhere else because you can't stay in another country. Let's look at it from a broader perspective. Any reason you have to move anywhere is called like relocating. That's the term, guys. Go Google it. Relocating. We're never being we use a lot of sarcasm over here on serious topics, but we're never being rude. We're never meaning to offend anybody. I'm want to use my speaking and perspectives and mind and critical thinking for a greater purpose to make people think too. Because this is You Will Make It TV. How are you gonna make it not using your mind? How are you gonna tell yourself what you need if you're not using your mind? Because that's exactly what the Willie Lynch letter broke down. You could actually do to a person. See, people still try to live this life like manipulation tactics aren't real. I'm not talking to anybody direct. This is a general opinion. They live their life like, oh, manipulation and harassment and all of that is not real. The man taught a whole way to steal that from a person, make them envy one another. I said, wow, that's deep. Make them not only make them fear only us. That's what they said. It's like the slave masters back then actually made their slaves break. I'm not gonna put in that word, but that's how it look a little bit. Like, y'all know what the first the Ten Commandments say? And you wanted these people at the time to put you first. You wanted them to fear you first. Because that's exactly what the Willie Lynch letter uh that's what's written in it. He said he teaches this in a way. If you do this for a year persistently to a person, to the man of the black family, to the mother of the black family, to the son or daughter of the black family, envy, they need to envy each other. And then he breaks down techniques that they can get them started. That's crazy. Like, he just wanted the world to know. I would say he still served a purpose. Yes, Willie Lynch, he still served a purpose, in my opinion. Uh, because you showed the world, even if it was just from his mind, his heart, his soul, like that. This actually, people want to stop it. Oh, was it a hoax? Was it real? Were these actually used on people? You know, I say even if it wasn't, that's totally proven. That's proving it can be done. That's crazy. That's showing that somebody even had an idea. that's too close to, yeah, it could have been done. What you mean? But distrust, fear. So they wanted them to fear the slave master. They said you got to get the dads first. Imagine, I don't care what culture you are. Somebody wrote this about black people. You have to get the fathers first, and when you get them, make sure the family witness it. So they just feel extra less protected and stuff like this, right? I know it's kind of gory. I should have put that disclaimer out there because this topic is, but it is history. But if you need to, like, I'm not gonna use bad language or nothing like that, but it is straight fact history on this segment. If I'm allowed to continue, but listen with discretion. I should have said that. I'm gonna leave it in the comments. Um, yeah, you're teaching a family to envy one another, fear the slave master first, not the God you were teaching them about at church. But people like to stop there and say they don't believe in God no more. My opinion is just me and my faith. I wouldn't say because of how the person tries to teach me. Somebody trying to teach me what God is to me, that's not me knowing the God that they're teaching me about then. That's just how I feel. Um, but that would be my opinion. I was not in those times that I know of. I wasn't born in that time period history. But regardless of what they felt about it at that time, this was life. This was, you were considered 3/5 of a human. Okay? You're not regular human like the rest of everybody. You're now just slave, okay? They make whole new laws, stipulation, letters, everything to stamp you and keep you as that. You know how you bring cattle? And then over time you just have many different ways that were created, in my opinion. There's many ways to bondage a person, but nothing was as great as this. That's the first thing I want to say. Nothing was like more evil to another tribe of people. I don't care who you bring up. Like, why go so hard to stamp and brand and make sure that they never? Well, of course, it's easy money. Come on now, capitalism. You got to keep the money rolling, and maybe this was a thing when it came to production and manufacturing and getting things built and done once upon a time, and it was cheap labor, I guess. But really, it wasn't. You had money if you were buying slaves. Come on now. I mean, everybody can't afford that today. I don't have any slaves. Last I looked around, and I shouldn't. Nobody should. That's my point. But that mentality is what, you know, inspiration can break people out of too. People don't think it's true. Look, times have changed. Many people stood up in inspiring ways. And we don't want to just use the word peace. I'm not just going to use that. When there's civil unrest, peace, people see what that is. If they ever took it for granted before, when they experience unrest, they do. Uh, but sometimes it's like that too. There has to be a period of everybody not having it till, what do y'all think a peace treaty is? Until something like that is made or come, But just that something like this letter is real or was actually like, and I don't care who it is, a group of people opinions that it work on people is still just, a sick mentality of anybody to me, because you have a method for the man, the woman, and the child, like they're experiments, like they're cattle, like they're gorillas or something. I guess what he was teaching overall is the more you disconnect mentally, because you can let it get gory and read every detail and letter of the letter, or letter word of the letter, or you can just look at it with a better understanding. Overall, what he was saying, the more you mentally, emotionally uh, disconnect with the slave, you can more control it. What do y'all think? Disconnect. They even went so far to say they're only 3/5 of a human. Look at them that way. They taught them this. Just look at them this way. Do whatever you have to. What do you mean? You say you're trying to build a country. You're trying to, and it's crazy. People actually start doing it. So we can't look at ourselves today and say, "Oh, I never do that." It's different ways you can still be doing it to somebody. I would say tying them to cattle and doing all this crazy stuff he was describing in the letter was definitely a way of ostracizing somebody, especially if you planned it before so their family can see it because the letter tells them to. It's like do it in front of their family. It's gonna leave an emotional scar that's sure to keep them as a slave. That is crazy. You know, you got to break them like cattle. That's what he was teaching, unfortunately. I just feel like had it been any other culture of slaves, would they had like have to put so much into it for them to be submissive, right? He even describes it like, look, they're strong people, they're independent, they're when they he points it out. Like all the things you could see good in yourself, why he gotta study you and see that? But there's a whole history behind it. A whole, just slave master. Why does he have to study your people and see that about your people to come to his conclusion about how to break your people? Well, that's because if you're really trying to break something, I guess you would have to study how to do it. That's crazy. It depends on what material, how durable it is, what it used to. I would say if the only way to defeat something like that is to be the you've already have a history in your blood of being the utmost resilient. Seriously, like literally surviving and going through being a slave. Some of these people for 400, 300 years, like he said, they'll work for the same family over and over again, or they get sold to another one or another work field. Uh, they let them still live lives, get married, go to church if they want to, cook. I can't say preferable meals for their families, but they had their portion like that. Like literally gave them enough substance just to keep going for their labor. And this is a real record of this happening in this country. While there's like so much civil unrest right now, some of it is due to natural disaster, but we know all of it is not. That's crazy when even nature step in and say, hold on, hold on, hold on, wait a minute. You know, that's another quote. Arthur Tedder Sherry, guys. Quote it if you need to. Because this is how I really feel about this. I feel like we can look at it like, oh, it's just been some crazy nature. Do y'all know right now, today's date marks January 16, 2025. They're talking about an Arctic blast coming across the country. You might say, well, that's normal. It's winter everywhere. Arthur Taylor Sherry, it's January. But no, y'all. Well, they've had Arctic blasts other years. Let me elaborate. They're talking negative, not 10, not 20, not 30, negative 40 and 50 degrees in some places. Right here in our country. So yes, that's what I agree to. Like that's what now I ain't gonna say, okay, let me see. That's what came out though. That's what I agree with, yes, or to. Like that nature is even stepped in at this point and said, look, enough is enough. But when we just it's right before our face, like this is in history. And it's like, boom, were these methods just a hoax? Like, because I can see why they say that. They had to have done some research somewhere to see, yeah, okay, yeah, things weren't this extreme from this for the slaves. Everybody knows that doesn't make it any better. Like to even say that because look at what's written in context though. Like somebody actually believes this could be proposed. He actually did go and give a speech on the bank of James River in Virginia in 1712. They can't say that was I mean, so I don't get what was supposed to be a hoax about it. You see what I'm saying? But I can see where they've tried to like band-aid it. Like, okay, this was real. You break down the black father in front of his family. and his kids and the wife and really the whole town. They said when you get to make an example of one, go to the fullest extreme. That is so sad. This, but I wouldn't want to just bear a sadness. You think our ancestors wanted us to just bear a sadness about that? They've grieved and carried that, right? Like I'm trying to think really real about this. But see, people today will still blame you, and this is history, and especially quick if you're black. This is what he taught them to do. And guess what? When you blame them, go to the fullest extent you can, because this is how you're gonna make the most money. That is so stupid. We can look at it as stupid, or we can look at it as not. He wrote it in a very intellectual way. That's not what I'm called. He was not stupid. That's what's crazy. Evil was never stupid. Good is not stupid either. You see what I'm saying? Really, the reason people have historical biblical beliefs is because there have already been things in biblical texts that have been proven are real. But that's up to people if they want to catch up on that knowledge or not. It's already certain things they actually went to that place and saw that there was a real river, or that, yep, this person really existed. It's interesting, especially Old Testament type. And the book of Revelations, don't even make me go there. Don't even make me go there. Okay? It has a lot to do similarly with this text. It's like the text was everything opposite from the Bible. If God had a chosen people, this text definitely had its attempt at breaking that, like if it could. Like at the people as a people. We see the people still exist today, but are they really there? Are they really home? Are the lights on? Like, because he actually taught this for years, use this method and take their mind. I just refuse to be that. I'd rather fight, die fighting, than somebody take my mind. And I'm black? No, nope, nope, nope. And that's what he teach. Like literally, put this put this in their head: fear, envy, and distrust. Put that in the household, and you got them. What if I told you something like this was real once upon a time, and people had to survive this every day, and they did, and some of them didn't make it just because they made one. We can see a critical mistake, but anything the slave master considered a critical mistake against what they wanted you to do. Period. We talking about the chosen people. Like we talking about right here in America, right? People just, and it's just, don't even get started on how the bondage. Bondage is always planned. That's not something you just walk in a person's life and say you're gonna do. I'm sorry, that doesn't make sense to me. It has to be planned because any plan you want to be uh, full of effort, actually successful, you're gonna think through it. And these people truly thought through it. And the people accepted it, the masters, even if it was from behind the scenes. The slaves didn't know what's going on. They just know they're being treated more brutally. Just imagine it. Like, man, all the slave masters are hammering down. Now they're cutting this. They're taking that. They're beating us. They're whipping us. They're whipping. We can't even talk no more. We can't read a book. Oh yeah, he encouraged them to steal their language. Do not allow them to, like, and he encouraged them, if you practice this over time, they really will forget their language. I would say anything that was reversed in the first place could be reversed back though. So, but I'm a new generation too. It's gonna take work. Them people put work into reversing them people's minds, and I'm talking about black people. They put work into breaking down the black family. They put work into stealing your whole mind. Like that should scare people. But it shouldn't, right? That's only if you are like what they're saying, like, hey, fear us, make that slave fear you more than anything. Now, if you stay on that mentality, yeah, it's gonna be scary. If your mentality, no, I'm gonna fight for my mind, or even if fighting for your mind is playing like you don't have a mind, period. It's like, don't y'all know this was really done to black people in history? The games people still play today. You be like, I'm trying to come off as humble about it and humility still. Maybe that is, you can't help that. That's in your bloodline. You were forced to be as resilient as the human body could take it. Black women's bodies were experimented on. Their babies, they taught them how to breed with other races and try to make a stronger slave or try to cause situations where they're jealous of each other. Give this slave a better job than that one. It sounds stupid, but yeah, y'all, this people lived by this. Some people don't want to let it go. But you can't bring up these discussions without talking about freedom and what freedom means to all people, what freedom means to certain cultures of people. Period. Uh, I agree with the crowd. Let freedom ring. You know what I mean? Let it ring, even if it's never. Let it ring like never before. Cause did it, and then after something like that, I get it. A people can, it can sound to a people like you just asking for more and more and more, but that would not be taking accountability of the truth. So just another. This has been a controversial topic for many years. It's a real topic because some people's ancestors were actually victims of that. He teaches to break the slave. I quote, break them from their natural state and nature. He was describing to the slave masters that horses and bulls, they have a natural state. This was his observation though of black people. Like, break them from their natural state. Their black men are strong. They go out, they hunt, they're safe. The animals, they got to seem to have a connection with them. I know it was deep. They can go outside and walk with the cheetahs. These people be having pythons around their necks and they know exactly they have their own medicine men that can heal them if the venom get too deep. You know what I'm saying? Imagine observing a people like that, and then you come up with your own method of how to tear them apart because it makes you money, and literally try to hold on to that concept to the end of the world. Like that's crazy. It's a mentality for black people, but it's taught to tame them, but it's also a mentality of another. It proves it. People can ask you all day long, who's that other you're referencing to? I guess you're referencing to history then. Those others. Maybe you're not always talking present tense, but those others would have been the founding fathers of who allowed these things and said, well, we're gonna change this. You had a president that came finally. You had Civil War. Things started to look up for black people. Still, it was just like at every corner though. These people have gone as far as to building their own cities, banks, communities, places for their people to live. That resilient. And still they get burned down. They come and harass them. Like it's like what do you call it? There's no name for that. And they say, what? That's not the chosen people because X, Y, and Z. But let's look at A, B, and C then. Because the alphabet is 26 letters, not just X, Y, and Z. You see? 26 chromosomes. Y'all notice that? But There's 26 alphabet letters. Well, in the English language anyway. There's 26 alphabet letters. I'm gonna cut this off and make this part one. Just cause I get long-winded and I feel me winding down, but I feel moved to speak on this topic. I'm gonna keep speaking on this topic. It never needs to die because I see what happens when it does. When people talk about it less and less and less and less, that's what happens with the truth. People talk about it less and less and less, and they think that makes it less the truth. Like, okay, you sitting on it only makes you feel better. It doesn't make the world better. We see the condition of the world right now. You know. Thank you guys for tuning in to another segment with You Will Make It TV, where we believe faith attracts possibilities, but it's up to you what you do with those possibilities. Hit that like button, definitely share with caution, but it's just a kind of like, not disclaimer, but kind of like, hey, caution. I kind of get straight to the point about this topic. Uh, but it was open, and that's the thing about history. That's why it's so respected and rich. Um, it doesn't need any help. People tried to help history and change it and do all kind of stuff to keep a people at a certain place. But that's all I can rest on tonight is knowing that how does that make that the truth? Uh, as a humanitarian, I still care. As a mother, I still care. As a black woman, I still care. I still care about my country too. I care about knowing the history. I care about knowing as far into the future as I can. I've probably been gifted to even see a little bit, right? Like in the past too. Some people think a dream is just like a current state of mind. Like that's why that's another topic for another day. But like who's to say that a dream can't be like a higher or lower state of mind? That you actually need to visit both on a balanced level, and if there's no way around it, is the whole orbit. When something orbits, the Earth orbits the sun, it goes round and round and round. So some cycles are already natural. When it's unnatural on a natural axis, too much unnatural activity going on. You tell me that don't sound healthy at all. In its natural state, the Earth orbits the sun. It's already doing it. I would say that's enough cycle right there. There's healthy cycles, natural cycles, and clearly there's an opposite to everything. And I feel like if you just set too much unnatural, put any too many unnatural cycles on an already natural cycle, you're asking for unnatural activity. You're asking to see something different. You're asking to kind of interrupt the natural flow of life for all of us. you know. Anyways, yeah, guys, I'm gonna end this it's gonna be part one because I definitely you can never talk about this too much. I think I'm gonna break it down in segments. I've said that about other segments, and sometimes when I can't think of a topic, I'll just come back, not piggyback. I don't want to call it that, but just come back with and do part two, three to ones I've already started. Thank you guys for your support, and until next time.